Well, we're joined here live now in Kyiv by Pramila Patten, who is the United Nations Under-Secretary General and the Secretary General's Special Representative on Sexual Violence in Conflict. Welcome to BBC News. Thank you very much for being with us. There have been so many reports of rape by Russian troops during this invasion. What is the scale of sexual violence in this conflict, as far as you know so far?
Well, indeed, the warning signals are flashing red in Ukraine, and multiple reports of gruesome, horrific reports of sexual violence are surfacing. And this is why I came to Kyiv, in spite of the security situation, because I could not sit back in my office. I have come to extend the support of my office to the Ukrainian government to prevent and respond to this scourge, because conflict-related sexual violence is not an inevitable byproduct of war. It's not collateral damage. It's never an accident like a missile or a rocket. So it can be prevented if all the preventive measures are put in place. And I'm pleased to announce that this morning I signed a framework of cooperation on prevention and response to conflict-related sexual violence with the Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine. We've 5 priority areas identified in which the United Nations will provide support to the government of Ukraine. And those areas are justice sector reform as a central pillar of prevention and deterrence, gender-responsive security sector reform, the importance of service provision, holistic services provided to all survivors of sexual violence, women and girls, but also men and boys, addressing conflict-related trafficking, because we see that this humanitarian crisis is also turning into a human trafficking crisis, and lastly, to ensure that sexual violence is included in any future peace agreement.
But these are Russian soldiers who are accused of committing war crimes and of committing rape during the invasion of this country. Will they be held to account by the international community? Will there be justice, do you think, for the victims of that sexual violence that we've seen?
Well, justice is only achievable if there are reports. If there are reports and investigation and prosecution. So it's a long road to justice and accountability, and this is why in every conflict we see that justice is the rare exception and impunity is the norm.
But who is going to investigate those allegations? And we've seen multiple allegations in the newspapers and many accounts of women being raped by Russian troops during the invasion. Who is going to investigate those accounts?
Well, it is the primary responsibility of the government of Ukraine to investigate these crimes, and the Prosecutor General is already doing a fantastic job. I met her this morning. She is supported by the United Nations, and my office will also be supporting her. There are other entities like the International Criminal Court that has opened an investigation. The Human Rights Council has mandated an international commission of inquiry, which will soon be deployed in Ukraine and start its work. And there are other agencies documenting.
Are you horrified, though, that in 2022 we are still appear to be seeing, according to all these accounts, rape as a weapon of war?
Well, rape is being used as a weapon of war because it is cheap, it is cost-free, and it is effective. And for me, it's only justice and accountability that can put a stop to this heinous crime. It is a calculated act on the part of perpetrators that victims will not report on account of stigma, on account of fear of reprisals, family rejection, and that they will enjoy total impunity. And that is why I have a message for all victims of sexual violence, women, girls, men and boys, that the United Nations stand in solidarity with them. My office stand in solidarity with them. They are not alone, and I urge them to break the silence.
Okay, well, that's a message coming out loud and clear. Pramila Patten, Special Representative for the United Nations on Sexual Violence in Conflict, thank you so much for being with us on BBC News. And that is it from me here live now in Kyiv. I'm going to hand you back to the studio in London.